Quick question. If the average American is a millionaire, why doesn't it feel like it? You're not crazy. The average is over $1 million. But it's a mirage created by a tiny elite pulling the number up. The real benchmark most people live near is the median, about $193,000. Big difference, right? Focusing on that median lowers the pressure, reduces money anxiety, and helps you set goals you can actually hit. In the next few minutes, I'll show you where you actually sit on the wealth ladder using net worth, not income, and why the wrong scoreboard quietly warps daily decisions. Let's reset the metric so your plan finally makes sense. So, let's talk about why you're using the wrong scoreboard and how to swap it for the right one. If the average says millionaire, why does your bank app disagree? The scoreboard is rigged by the wrong stat. Use net worth, not income. Net worth is simple. Add up what you own and subtract what you owe. House equity, retirement accounts, brokerage, cash. Even your used car go in the own column. Mortgages, student loans, credit cards, and personal loans go in the O column. That result is your financial position. Income tells you how fast money flows in. Net worth tells you what stayed after the flow. You can earn a lot and still have little if the liabilities swallow the assets. Here's why the mismatch stings. The average clears $1 million, yet most households don't feel close. That gap breeds second-guessing and sloppy decisions. When the benchmark is out of reach, people either tune out or chase shortcuts. Both reactions derail long-term planning. The fix is to anchor your scoreboard to the median, about $193,000, because it reflects the middle household, not the others. Do the kitchen table math. 2 households each earn the same salary. Household 1 owns a $350,000 home with $120,000 in equity, has $90,000 in retirement accounts, $8,000 in cash, and a $12,000 car. Debts, a $230,000 mortgage, and $7,000 on a card. Net worth lands around $223,000. Household 2 rents, carries $45,000 in student loans and $12,000 on a card. Has $25,000 in retirement, $3,000 cash, and a $9,000 car. Net worth sits near $20,000. Same income, radically different balance sheets because the O column weighs more than the own. That's the key takeaway. Net worth, not paycheck size, tells you where you really stand. So why not plan against the average? Because the average is inflated by a small slice holding outsized wealth. It's fine for economists tallying totals, but it distorts everyday goals. When you plan against a warped number, you set targets that don't match your reality and either overspend to look closer or freeze because it feels hopeless. Using the median grounds your expectations, keeps your goals realistic, and reduces the anxiety that comes from chasing a number built by outliers. If your net worth is negative, read it clearly and keep it simple. It's not a verdict, it's a starting line. Focus on shrinking liabilities while building a cash buffer and steady contributions. Progress shows up when the O column stops growing faster than the own. Over time, most households see gains as debts fall and contributions compound. But the point here isn't to forecast your whole life. It's to measure with the right tool. And yes, there's a reason the average makes you feel behind, even when you're moving forward. One extreme can twist the whole picture. Let's look at how a single outlier can make everyone in the room rich on paper without changing anyone's actual balance. Enter the Jeff at your table illusion. 10 friends have $10,000 each. Jeff walks in with $100 billion. Are you all billionaires? Now here's the trap. One outlier enters the room and the average for the group explodes. Your account didn't change. Your rent didn't drop. Your debts didn't vanish. But a tidy statistic says the table is wealthy. That's how the average misleads. It folds one extreme into everyone's score and pretends the room improved. You feel the gap between the headline and your reality. And that gap messes with decisions you make next. When people hear average millionaire, the pressure starts. You're not behind, but it feels like you are. That nagging feeling pushes shortcuts, leaning toward high-fee schemes, piling into whatever is hot, or taking on debt to look closer to the number. Lifestyle creep sneaks in because you're trying to live at a level the average seems to promise. The result is fragile cash flow and a net worth that stalls or slides. Think about the shape of the wealth curve. It isn't a gentle hill with most people near the middle. It's a steep rise with a long right tail. A small cluster near the far end carries an outsized share of the total. That tail is the Jeff in the room. He pulls the mean so far to the right that the single figure no longer describes typical reality. You can be surrounded by normal balance sheets and still get labeled by a number defined by the outliers. This pattern lines up with the Pareto-style distributions where a minority owns a majority of the total. In those systems, the mean becomes a measure of aggregate size, not a snapshot of the typical case. It tells you something about the whole pile of wealth, but almost nothing useful about what a regular household should aim for next. Planning off that number is like choosing your shoe size from the NBA roster. And there's a megaphone making it worse. Social media amplifies the tale, pushing yachts, penthouses, and windfalls into your feed so often they look standard. The algorithm loops the extraordinary until it feels ordinary. The outlier becomes the baseline, and the average turns into a goal built on fiction. You're comparing your timeline to highlights funded by stock options, concentrated bets, or inheritance, and then wondering why your savings account doesn't match. That constant exposure raises the bar in your head, stokes anxiety, and nudges spending toward appearances over progress. Swap the target. The median centers on the household in the middle of the line, so it reflects the typical balance sheet. Use the mean for understanding how much wealth exists in total. Use the median for setting personal benchmarks. Once you anchor to median-based tiers, the ladder starts to make sense. Each rung has numbers that match lived reality, and the next step becomes specific instead of dreamy. The mini payoff here is calmer planning, fewer frantic pivots, more moves you can actually sustain. Now, let's map those rungs with real numbers so you can see where you land and what a practical next step looks like. Start with the framework, the ladder from vulnerable to free. Where do you land? Vulnerable, stable, or free? Here's the ladder with real numbers, not vibes. We're using net worth tiers that reflect how households actually live. Each tier is a range with a median that keeps you grounded in reality. You'll see where you stand and what that usually feels like day to day. Net worth is assets minus liabilities. So, this ladder attracts what sticks, not what passes through your paycheck. High income can fool you. A big title and a leased car might look impressive, but if the debts cancel out the assets, you're lower on the ladder than your lifestyle suggests. The reverse is also true. Quiet living with a fat savings rate pushes you up, even if the income looks ordinary. At the bottom, the lower class sits between $0 and $17,000 in net worth with a median near $6,000. The risk is simple. One bad week can snowball. A blown tire turns into a high-interest balance, then a fee, then a missed bill. It's not a moral failing. It's math with no buffer. If you're here, the focus is stability. Build a small emergency fund. Avoid new high-interest debt. And stop the bleed so you can create space to grow. Next is the lower middle class. $17,000 to $43,000 with a median near $27,000. You have some assets, maybe a car with equity or a small starter portfolio, but the margin is thin. A dental bill, a layoff, or a move forces trade-offs. You earn enough to miss help, but not enough to feel secure. Choices carry weight because the slack in the system is small. The play here is margin. Budget tightly, automate savings, and aim for steady contributions that thicken your cushion. The middle class starts around $58,000 and runs to $169,000 with a median near $145,000. You have a cushion and growing retirement accounts. An emergency cost stress, not catastrophe. Music. You can plan for trips, upgrades, and bigger goals, but it still takes intent. Skip the plan and lifestyle drift eats the space you work to build. Keep fixed costs in check and keep upping your investable surplus. The upper middle class stretches from $500,000 to $2 million with a median around $1.1 million. Wealth feels tangible. Home equity, investments, and options show up in real life. The danger shifts. It's not survival. It's drift. Larger houses, frequent upgrades, and subtle status spending raise your baseline cost. If savings fall, your progress stalls despite high income. Guardrails matter. Tax planning, aggressive savings rates, and habits that resist lifestyle inflation. Rich covers $2 million to $30 million with a median near $11 million. Assets can fund your life. Work becomes optional for many, but preservation gets harder. Concentration, risk, taxes, and leverage choices matter more than headline returns. The less you spend relative to portfolio income, the more resilient you become. Very rich is $30 million and up. That's top 1% territory. Decisions now carry more power and more complexity. Business stakes, family governance, and planning that spans decades. Even here, poor bets still compound just like good ones do. Knowing you're wrong sets the context. Next, there's a quieter force that decides how fast you climb or slide, and it shows up every time your paycheck changes. Here's what quietly tilts that climb. The silent killer, lifestyle inflation. Two people earn the same. One feels broke, one grows rich. What's the hidden lever? Lifestyle inflation. How fast your spending rises with your paycheck. Meet earners A and B. Both make $120,000. A upgrades with every raise. Newer car, bigger house, pricier trips. Payments expand until each month feels tight again. B caps lifestyle at a fixed percentage, say 50 to 60% of take-home, music, and routes the rest to savings and investments on autopilot. Same income, different default settings. A's baseline costs climb. B's surplus grows. The pressure isn't imaginary. Friends level up, feeds flash upgrades, and treat yourself becomes the script. That push to look successful often lands as debt, thin cash buffers, and juggling due dates. When your fixed costs swell, mortgage, car notes, subscriptions, you lose room to absorb a job hiccup or rate change, net worth stalls. Even as your title improves, social media magnifies it, making outliers look normal and loud spending feel like the standard. You end up borrowing someone else's highlight reel as your budget. Let's break a paycheck into 3 buckets. Fixed cost, fund money, and investable surplus. If fixed cost creep from 55 to 65%, that 10-point shift can erase thousands a year in savings. On $120,000, trimming just 5% of spending and moving it to investing can redirect roughly $6,000 a year. Add another 5% and you've created a double-digit savings rate without touching your core lifestyle. Just the extras that bloat it. Compounding turns those small moves into big outcomes. A steady surplus invested at a reasonable 7 to 8% for 10 to 20 years builds faster than a regular when I feel like it contributions. The math is dull and relentless. A consistent $500 per month for 20 years at 8% grows near 6 figures in gains alone. Keep adding each year, and the growth curve starts doing more of the heavy lifting than your salary ever music could. Quiet wealth versus loud spending is the fork in the road. Quiet wealth looks modest. a reliable used car, a mortgage that's reasonable, then gone, and automatic transfers the day money hits. The flex isn't the purchase, it's the compounding that follows restraint. Loud spending chases applause. Newer, bigger, flashier, funded by payments that crowd the month. The more you perform success, the harder it is to buy freedom. Real wealth is built off stage, not broadcast for likes. Your brain doesn't help. Present bias nudges you towards today's hit of happiness over future gains. Hedonic adaptation means last year's upgrade feels standard in a month, so you chase the next step up. Add social comparison, and your baseline ratchets higher with every scroll. That trio quietly rewires your budget unless you install guardrails. So here's the promise. You'll get a tier plan next. No guesswork, just the highest leverage moves for your rung. For now, take the mini win. Cap lifestyle at a fixed percent. Automate investing the moment income clears and let time work. Quiet wealth compounds. Loud spending distracts. Up next, the move that actually moves you up. Let's turn that awareness into action. Your next move, tier-specific game plan. Think of this as a simple checklist per tier. No fluff, just steps that raise your net worth with the least friction. Keep the actions clear, make them automatic, and let time stack the wins. If you're in the lower class, your first target is a $500 starter emergency fund. That small buffer breaks the debt spiral when a tire blows or a COI hits. Next, attack high-interest balances in order of rate. Minimums on everything, extra on the worst offender, and roll the freed-up payment to the next. While you do that, work the income side. Pick one skill you can sell for cash within 30 days. Tutoring, rideshare, basic trades, shift differentials. More take-home plus fewer fees gives you breathing room to stop the bleeding. In the lower middle, build a real safety net. 3 to 6 months of expenses in a separate account. Cut recurring bloat you don't use and used subscriptions, insurance add-ons, and overpriced phone plans. Then start automatic contributions into broad low-cost index funds inside a tax-advantaged account like a Roth IRA or workplace plan if available. Aim for a 10 to 15% savings rate and let the contribution hit the day your paycheck lands so you don't negotiate with yourself. In the middle tier, shift from stability to growth. Max out tax-advantaged accounts, first 401k to the match, then IRA, then back to the 401k up to the limit. Add low-cost index funds and taxable accounts once you've filled the tax shelters. If housing costs are high, consider house hacking or a small cautious real estate move only if cash flow covers vacancies and repairs. Keep a 15 to 20% savings rate and review contributions once per year. Automation reduces decision fatigue so you don't rely on willpower. Upper middle means discipline beats drift. Keep lifestyle creep in check with a hard cap on fixed cost as a percentage of take-home. Use straightforward tax moves to keep more of what you earn. Optimize retirement deferrals. Choose Roth versus pre-tax based on bracket and harvest losses when appropriate. Stay diversified and reduce concentration risk, especially if a big slice of your net worth sits in employer stock or a single property. Keep your savings rate north of 20% and send raises directly to investing before they hit checking. If you're rich, focus on preservation and simplicity. Put basic estate documents in place, beneficiary reviews, wills, and trust if they fit. Set a clear investment plan that defines allocation and a schedule to rebalance. Diversify across assets. Stress test for liquidity needs and coordinate taxes across accounts. Keep fee drag low and resist complex products you don't need. At the very rich level, add governance without jargon. Create simple decision rules. Monitor concentrated risks and design a giving plan that matches your values and tax. Align roles and education so family decisions compound, not conflict. One universal rule: wealth is quiet. Keep costs low, automate growth, and let compounding work while you focus on the next small, repeatable choice. Hold on to that, because the final takeaway is about how steady, median-based planning turns into results when your systems keep you moving. Here's where it all comes together. Conclusion: wealth isn't the headline. It's your median-based plan carried out with quiet discipline. The key is consistent automated choices that reduce friction and keep you moving. Done right, this lowers money stress and gives you a clear path forward instead of a vague sense of falling behind. Calculate your net worth tonight. Drop your tier in the comments. Pick one habit to automate this week: an automatic transfer, a debt payoff bump, or a retirement contribution increase. Set it, let it run, and review monthly. If you want deep dives for each rung, subscribe. Your future net worth grows from the next decision you automate. Repeat it until it feels normal.